lethal is it, how virulent is it. The virulence is how likely it is to kill the host. Virus genotypes that have a fast growth rate are more virulent than viruses that have a slower growth rate. If the virus grows fast enough, it can grow faster than the immune system can catch up with it. And if it has a slow growth rate, it gives a chance for the immune system to catch up with it before it ever gets to numbers where we're causing these severe problems. Is that okay? Now, which one of these two is the immune system more likely to target? Well, if they both started at the same time, this one is becoming much more common because of its faster growth rate, and this one down here is much more rare. I have a population that's composed of all these different genotypes at a particular point in time, all of which are growing at different rates. The common one, I would argue, should be favored by natural selection, right? We've thought about this before when we talked about multiple genotypes within a population. The genotype with the fastest growth rate is the one that's increasing in frequency faster than the other ones. So, in a sense, my expectation would be that natural selection is rewarding this common one at the expense of the rare. But if I assume that, this wouldn't be true. Because of the immune system and the way that it works, the immune system is set up to target the common because it's more likely to find them, more likely to pick up a little piece of protein, show it to a B cell, get the antibody that recognizes it, and therefore I have something going on that's different from natural selection. The process that I have going on is called frequency-dependent selection. Now, frequency-dependent selection we've not talked about before. It should be the first time I've mentioned it. But frequency-dependent selection is this weird process that is being shown here where the common is being selected against. Or the other way to think about it is it's selection for the rare individuals. This individual is being selected for in frequency-dependent selection. This one is being selected against. So in our curve here, for genetic distance and time, why do we have such a high rate of evolution? It's because of the immune system working frequency dependently. It is attacking common and it's rewarding the rare. Well, the rare ones are the ones that are different. So the immune system is pushing for this increase in genetic difference among individual HIV viruses because of this targeting of the common. Make sense? Now, if we look at this plot, here, it looks like about 7 years in, there's a change. The rate of evolution before 7 years is very high, and the rate of evolution after 7 years has gone down. So let's see if we can figure out where this is coming from. Well, the log of the viral RNA per milliliter, that's the amount of viral RNA that we're picking up in the serum, log transformed, so this is a log scale here. We're increasing exponentially as the virus population increases, albeit different genotypes are increasing at different rates. And here, the CD4 plus T cells, those are the T cells that have that CD4 receptor, the helper T cells, per cubic millimeter. So here, the initial infection, the body takes off and starts to produce more T cells, but it looks like right about here, there's a dramatic decrease in the number of T cells. We need the T cells to help get the antibodies produced. So why is this change corresponding to a loss in the T cells? Well, the immune system is what's enforcing this frequency-dependent selection. The immune system is preferentially targeting the fastest growing virus. Well, that makes sense. That's the most virulent one. So the system is set up to go after the bad ones and leave these slower growing ones until later, until they increase in frequency enough that they become common enough to be seen by the immune system, but preferentially attack these common ones. As these viruses continue to evolve new genotypes, in a sense, I'm getting all these different battles that must be fought. These new viruses are targeting T cells. As they target T cells, the number of T cells in the body should drop because the T cells are being converted to virus production factories and ultimately dying as a consequence of doing that. So as these T cells disappear from the system, you can no longer run the immune system the way you were running it before, and because you can't run it that way, you're not making antibodies against this common one anymore, which means at this point there's a decrease in the rate at which these new genotypes appear, because now instead of operating under a frequency-dependent model, we're operating under that same type of selection that we've talked a lot about before, which is natural selection. Frequency-dependent selection rewards the rare, natural selection rewards the common. So now, instead of this one being knocked down, it's growing faster. Need a bigger board? It's growing faster than the other viruses. This one is going to be a greater and greater percentage of the population relative to the others as more and more time passes. That's classic natural selection, which means here natural selection is operating. Over here, it's frequency-dependent selection. Once the immune system collapses, natural selection takes over, and now we're rewarding the common one, which happens to be the most virulent. This is the point at which the individual is in big trouble. Does that make sense? All right. Okay. All right, I talked a little bit long last time, so I'm going to cut us off here to make up that time for last time, and I'll see you again next week. Bye.